Hello, it's Thursday, the 23rd of May, and potentially this is Ethereum spot ETF day. Actually, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the regulatory world or macro, the bigger fundamental picture for crypto in the US at the moment. And so let's talk about that and what this means for crypto. Most of it, apart from the Ethereum ETF, which we'll cover in a minute, there has been, of course, a lot of stuff going on with crypto and policy with the FIT21, which is the Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act, which is being discussed in the US government at the moment. What it basically is, if you haven't looked into it, is it basically gives the Commodity Futures Trading Commission more authority to oversee spot crypto market and basically labels them all digital commodities. So everybody in the industry really wants it because it gets crypto away from Gary Gensler, who has been so ridiculous that, I don't know if it's just him or whether he does what Warren and Biden want, but it gets crypto out from his oversight and under the CFTC, which honestly couldn't be worse than it is under Gensler, let's put it this way. There are lots of places that can explain it to you much better than I can. I think this is basically all political. This is because, Trump came out a couple of weeks ago and he said, I am good with crypto, which is a bit of a surprise because he wasn't really very good with crypto when he actually had any power to do anything. But now he says, I'm good with crypto, and if you're for crypto, you better be for Trump, and started accepting crypto donations. So that obviously put a lot of pressure on the Biden administration, who've already pissed off enough young people with wars and armed police on university campuses. So I think that now there's a little bit of a competition going on to secure the crypto vote. So let's see how it goes. I don't really see it as a Democrat Republican issue, and I think it would be just some clarity of regulation would be really good. It will be really good for crypto. So that's what's going on at the moment with FIT21, and we're waiting to hear about that. And then of course we've got the ETH decision now in. Today is the deadline for the first of the Ethereum ETFs, the final deadline. And so this is why it's widely expected to be today. Obviously, there are a whole bunch more. Grayscale, of course, converted. So that's why this first one is no longer in play. BlackRock have applied as well. BlackRock never lose. So, this is why I think suddenly, it's quite extraordinary, the change in sentiment and how quickly it has happened and how quickly it has caught people off guard. What we should remember, though, if you don't think you've bought enough ETH, let's remember what happened with the Bitcoin ETF. The market in Bitcoin really, really rallied into the ETF and then pulled back 22% on the launch day before going back up again. So a lot of people didn't buy it back cheaper on that 22% dip and then chased it up again. I think we could get the same if the ETFs get approved. I think we should be looking for that shakeout pullback to jump in because it really does change the market. Let's take a look at this. This was a really interesting chart from CoinDesk yesterday. And this is the share of Bitcoin traded during US trading hours. Now, if you think US trading hours, if you divide the day into three, we have the European trading, the Asian trading, and the US trading. US trading is really 1/3 of the day. And really up until sort of 2017, 1/3 of the day was pretty much what Bitcoin traded. And then, of course, what happened in 2017, we had Bitcoin futures on the CME, and that increased the share of Bitcoin trading in US hours. And now, of course, we are at a new record, 46%. I think if we see this ETH ETF launch, I think that it won't just be Bitcoin, quite a lot of crypto. And will be driven by what happens in the US markets with these ETFs and so on. So that was a pretty interesting chart yesterday from Coinbase. So let's take a look at where we are in the chart, because we've had this huge rally Let's take everything off. Huge rally this week since the sentiment flipped. End of last week, only 10% of people expected the Ethereum spot ETF to be approved, and this week only 10% of people think it will be denied. In fact, I can't find them, but you know, I'm assuming there must be some people who still think it will be denied. If we zoom out to the monthly chart, remember in Bitcoin, we're trading at new all-time highs. I think that's pretty much where we're likely to get to in Ethereum. But again, watch out for that 22, 23. You know, as I'm a big fan of Fibonacci pullbacks. And a 23.6% pullback would be a pretty good Fib first trend support pullback. So if you haven't got enough ETH, don't buy the highs or buy the spike. There always is a pullback entry to let you jump in. Now, if we look at this ETH move and the big correction that we had in 2021, 2022, for me, you know, this is super bullish because I'm a big zigzag fan, equal measure move. And if I measure from this high to low, here you can see an Ethereum dollar. This was a textbook equal measured move swing level. So we really should from this see new highs, especially if this unfolds as 5 waves up, which if we break out will be. And so we'd be buying pullbacks, and we shouldn't go back below this previous wave 4 swing low here, which is around 2,800. So if we were to go sideways in this range and we were to get that 22% pullback, this would be where I would be stalking it. Another way to look for pullback level entries and targets is to put fib retraces, especially when you've got a textbook 3-wave measured move like this. I put fibs on the retraces of the whole swing. And I look for it to be validated and go level to level to level. And here on the big picture, 236 was validated. Then it got a bit messy, 38.2. If we go down actually, we can see this level was validated. The 50% became support. We've done this 786. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we go beyond this 786. Of course, the next fib level is an 886, which is rarely used. People say to me, where does the 886 fib come from? Well, the 786 fib level is the square root of the 61.8, which of course is the pi, and 886 is the square root of 786. So that's where that comes from. And then above that 886 level, we retest the highs. Remember, crypto loves to do messy double tops and double bottoms. So previous highs and lows are always very tricky levels. But for now, 4,014 actually is key level. And let's see what the reaction is when we get this ETF announced. Remember, the pullback that you need to jump in usually comes right when you've given up on it ever happening and jumping in anyway. So trade carefully and wait for those pullback long entries. And so yeah, ETH ETF. It seems to me that everybody thinks it's going to happen now. I hope it does. If we look at where we are with Bitcoin, for me, we're in a little bit of potentially a bigger pullback scenario. And this 7,000 level has been a little bit tricky. If we look at it on the weekly, if we don't close above this 7,000 level, which is our first target here, potentially we could see a little bit of a bigger pullback. I'd be looking back to 65,000, as you know. Getting a little bit of a tail. Will people start selling Bitcoin to buy ETH with? That could be what happens. We certainly could see that, you know, in bigger institutions who have a allocation in crypto, in Bitcoin. They may decide to sell some of those Bitcoins and buy some of this ETH ETF, and that could cause a little bit of bigger pullback in Bitcoin. So for me, usually, if, you know, when you reverse an 886 fib like this target would be back here to this daily 50 and this 50% level at 65,000. And the confirmation that we're kind of going there is closing underneath this 786 fib, which was originally our target at 70,000. Now, obviously, if we don't close the week underneath it and we hold it, you know, I just think that there's quite a good possibility that we see a bigger pullback to this $65,000 level in Bitcoin. Let's take a look at Solana ETH as well, because this Solana chart is a little bit more bearish, unfortunately, than Bitcoin. Now, as I said before, previous highs and lows, especially in crypto charts, are always a little bit dangerous. This market loves double tops and double bottoms. We had a pretty nice almost double bottom down here, but what we've seen is a very messy move here at the highs. Now, if we do Fib retrace levels the other way, so we go from the all-time lows in Solana against ETH to this high. For me, you know, bigger corrections usually end up looking, even if they're smaller, you usually like to see 3 swings for a correction to be over. And holding underneath this 236 fib, which here on the monthly we haven't done, but well, we did close underneath, it does really, to me, point to a little bit of a bigger pullback and a bigger 3-wave move. So we've had our first swing. Now, if we were just to do one of those textbook equal measured moves here, so if I measure from this high to this low, project it from here, the equal measured move gives us 0.0395, which is also the 38 fib retrace from this low to this high. So that makes a lot of sense. So if we're just going to do one of these 3-wave measured moves, we're not going to do a bigger pullback, we're not going to take out this low, then the next place for Solana to recover against ETH is down here at 0.039. And I think that it's got further to fall to at least test that level at the moment. Holding underneath this 0.046 keeps it bearish and heading lower. If we look at this on the 4-hour, that's the level that we have lost this morning, and this was potentially where I thought we could have held support, and we haven't. Going back above that level says we're going up again, but for now I feel like this is headed lower. Now, does that mean that Solana against the US dollar is not doing so well? I have to say, if we take a look at Solana against the US dollar, we are in a little bit of a correction. Now, if we look at this on the weekly, again, I'm going to do fib levels from this high that we made in November 2021 to the low in December 2022 here. And we've kind of gone level to level to level. We reverse at this 786 fib level. When you do that, you kind of like want to see a bigger 3-wave measured move, and your target is usually down here to this 38.2. So I feel like we're going to see in Solana dollar a bigger 3-wave swing, and 104 is where I think it comes back to. Now, given we're at 175 at the moment, that's quite a long way to fall. Now, you don't want to dump your Solana if it's not going to go down there, do you? But the risk here is it's starting to look like 5 waves down and 3 waves up. So let's take these fibs off. Remember, 104 is where if we start to lose these moving averages that we are potentially looking at to come back to. So we've got a double bottom here. But if we do another leg lower, this 104 level is where I think we could end up. We can kind of reverse engineer it by measuring it like this. 100, 104. So what would be the sign that we are headed lower, and what would make me sell Solana against the dollar and wait for a bigger pullback? I think if I go from this low underneath this 236 fib level, which is at 172. So short term for me, that's the trend support. As long as we don't get a daily close underneath 172, this move is still trending higher. If we do, I think we're going to get a bigger pullback. It's either going to come back 50% of this move, that means 153, and back to these daily 50 moving average. So you can look to see if it's going to hold there and everything's going to go up again. And underneath 153, I'm afraid I think we see 100 to 104. That would be more bearish in Solana ETH. So support here, second support here, underneath 153, potentially on the daily close. I think we head down to 100, 104. What about some more Ethereum level 2s? So I have to say my favorite of these is Arbitrum. Let's see if we can get catch-up moves in these. Now this is a really interesting chart. So this, I've got the Binance chart of Arbitrum here. If I look at this Arbitrum Tether, if I look at this from the low March 2023, just over a year ago, this, when I think I've got a three-wave move like this, I put the fibs on from the all-time lows to the highs. And this, I looked to see if it validates the fib levels, which it clearly did. Look, 38.2 was very valid, 50% was very valid. This 61.8, we dropped through it and it's resistance. Where did we find support? We found support at this 786. For me, this looks like a little bit of a nice catch-up buy here. Now, we're bouncing from a 786 fib. If you can close above the fib above it, which is this 61.8, which is 1.235, your first target is the 38.2, which is up here at 1.68. So we're looking above it at the moment. We need to close above it. Why do we need to close above it? Because if we don't, it's just really these range highs, isn't it? So watching that. Buying pullbacks, it's literally, as I'm recording this, just starting to have a look above here now. In fact, in the last hour, I do not want this to be a false breakout. Remember, this is pretty serious resistance if we look left, and I wouldn't want to see a false breakout. And I think it's going to be with what happens with ETH. But if ETH takes off, I don't think that Arbitrum is a terrible idea to follow it. That's what we really need to see. I like it in terms of these moving averages. I think there's a wobble level in the middle at 1.46, but 1.67 is the upside target for Arbitrum. And then I would expect to kind of pull back there. And then potentially if we're going to go high, you know, back to the middle, back to that daily 200 moving average, something like that. Let's take a look at OP as well. Another level. One of the big. This is one. If we measure from the lows in June 2022 in OP, again, we're looking at these fib levels. If we look at it on a daily, you can see these were pretty good support and resistance levels. So I'm going to rely on them. But what's also really good here is these weekly moving averages. Initially, when we came back to the weekly 20 moving average, we had a really nice 50% back bounce. This second moving average, the weekly 50 moving average, sorry, we've had a really nice bounce from, but we haven't managed to close back above the weekly 20. That's what we've got to get above to be going up again, and this range highs here. If we do, that says, just like here, you know, we got a little bit stuck when these moving averages were bunched up and going sideways. This is what we need after this lovely three-wave correction in OP, just like ETH has done. Look, if we measure it from lows to highs here, very nice. Look how we didn't get a weekly close right on this equal measured move level. Yeah, did we look the other side of it? Yeah, we did. In fact, I've got it quite, there we go. But for me, this was a very nice equal measured move, and we are sideways back testing this 61.8 here. So we need to break out of this sideways range, and then I think we can say nice big bounce should follow from here in OP. So I'm going to move my fibs this way and see if there's any, this helps us at all. Kind of does, doesn't it? Because we're right on this 38.2. So then we can say level to level to level. We're going to go from 2.97 to 3.33, 3.69, 4.2, and then so on. And then above there, I think we are looking for our next high. Now, some people said to me, is this really trending because it looks overlapping? I think, remember, Elliott wave is my first thing, but, you know, in the wave ones, you can see overlapping in the beginning, and crypto tends to do that. You know, the first wave, it'll start very slow, and you'll see overlapping waves, and then you'll see a three-wave pullback, and then the next one will be much trendier. So I think we could be kind of here with OP. So not bearish, you know, at the moment, just looking for a breakout from this range, and I think potentially OP above 2.9 should look pretty nice to continue higher. So the other big news, of course, we've had this week is the Nvidia earnings, which absolutely smashed it as widely expected, and have broken out of the little bit of sideways range that they were in at the moment in Nvidia. Really interested to see how it trades today and whether it holds it and how much of this beat was priced in. So I've been scouting through the AI cryptos, most of them seem stuck at a pretty tough level. For example, the Fetch, which is the biggest by market cap of the AI coins, stuck at this 50%. So from this high to this low, we're really stuck at this 50% level here in the middle, a little bit double toppy. So not shouting to me that we are going up in Fetch unless we can close and hold above 2.55. And quite a few of these are in kind of pretty similar patterns. Let's look at render. In this one, it's a 61.8, but again, looking a little bit double toppy. And the thing with a 61.8 here, when you reverse it to 61.8, the 50% becomes key support. Underneath it, you drop down to the 38.2, which would be down here. So not quite, no follow through with on these. What I'm trying to say is this, that we're at resistance in these AI coins and no kind of follow through to follow Nvidia yet, but I'm watching. One of the ones maybe a little bit better set up is Tau, which is BitSensor. In BitSensor, we had a really nice double bottom down here at around 340, and we are double top, double bottom going sideways in this at the range highs here. In the middle of these range highs, we've got all of our daily moving averages all bunched up together. Whenever you see that, for example, last time we did that was all the way back here, when we got all of our daily moving averages bunched up together. Back in 2023 September, we made a double bottom, got above these moving averages, got above these range highs here, and we just took off and never looked back. Are we going to do the same here in BitSensor? We could. If we take out these range highs at 484, then I think we could say that we have probably completed this correction and we are on our way higher again in BitSensor. So some of these AI coins are have paused at pretty tough resistance, but if they break out of it, like let's look at GRT, the graph, we can see again this 50% level, not a double top here on the weekly, but on the 4-hour, a little bit of a double top, not quite clear, but that's the level that we've got to break out from. So are these AI coins going to follow through? Not quite clear yet. AGIX, let's take a look at this one. From this high to this low, here we are sideways at this 50% level, can't make a new high here. This is kind of quite important because when I look at this coin, if we go the other way, look, where did we pull? We're doing that 50% thing here in AGI. This is 50% low to highs is where we pull back to. Let's get a bigger time frame. You can see what I mean here. Weekly 20 moving average. So when we get above this 50%, now I would say this whole correction is over probably, and we're on our way back to test range highs in AGIX as well. So that's what I'm looking at today. Let me know if there's anything you'd like me to look at.